Well, shalom again. I wanted to talk about this. This was a recent Torah portion. It was actually a couple of weeks ago now, but it was an interesting study for um, for me and the group that I have Bible studies with. It was the story of Balaam. He, all the things that he kind of went through and everything. It's a very familiar story. This is basically the story of Balaam and the talking donkey, and so on. But the idea was that Balak. I want to make sure I said the right name. Balak sends for Balaam, and he's known as this guy who's able to bless and to curse. He's kind of like a sorcerer in this area, and he's very well known. And so this king named Balak sends for Balaam. So Balaam, he goes and has a chat with Jehovah, and he tells him, no, you are not to go with him. I've actually blessed these people that he wants you to curse. And he wanted him to curse the Hebrew people, because they were a great people. They were very large in number, and he was intimidated by this. Balak was, and so Balaam, he consults with the Almighty, and the Almighty says no, and you can't go with these people only if they invite you. I'm paraphrasing a lot here. I'm not going to read the story because it's very long, and I just wanted to make a simple point with this. But Balaam says no. I can't go with you, but feel free to stay the night. So the next morning or whatever, he wakes up and he goes with them. Problem is, they didn't invite him along when they were leaving. The Almighty told him only go with them if they invite you. So he's heading out to this place, and eventually an angel is standing there in the way with a sword, and he doesn't see him, but the donkey does, and he smacks the donkey 3 times, and eventually, the Almighty opens up the mouth of the donkey, and he's like, why in the world are you beating me? And they basically have an argument. Then he opens up Balaam's eyes, and he sees an angel, and he's like, I told you not to go with these people, what's wrong with you? Go ahead and go with them, but don't do this. And he ends up going to the place, and he's I think it's like 3 or 4 times, I think it's 4 times, Balak takes him to 4 different places. He's like, look at them over here, look at these people, look at them, and I want you to curse them. So he goes and has a talk with the Almighty again, and eventually it's like, I can't curse these people. The Almighty keeps telling me to just bless them, and but eventually the story winds down, and he basically tells them, look, if you want to defeat these people, here's what you do: give them women. And Balaam, he's not really all there in the head. He had the sense to obey the Almighty, but here's the thing. And I thought this was interesting. I shared this on Facebook and Twitter. The story of Balaam kind of mirrors that of a relationship between a child and their father. The child says, hey, Dad, I want to go over to so-and-so's house to spend the night. The father says, no, you can't do that. You can't go over there to spend the night. So the child, they go over to the person's house. The dad's like, I said no. So, they have this chat, and he's like, I told you no. Well, you said I couldn't go over there to spend the night, but you didn't say anything about me just going over to play. So the dad's like, look, okay, you can play for a little while, but you can't spend the night. So eventually the kid ends up not coming home, makes the dad all mad and stuff. And it's this idea of, this is what we found, and I wanted to share this, is that it's kind of like the child is really pushing their limits. They want this so bad, so they're going to try and push it and undermine their father so much so that eventually they get what they want, even without the consent of the dad. And that's kind of what Balaam was going through here. He was promised glory and riches and honor and just all kinds of great things. And, the king, Balak, even went as far as to say, I'll give you whatever you ask of me. Just name it, it's yours, as long as you curse these people. And that's a very enticing, very tempting offer from a king. But, Balaam knows, he's like, all right, let me talk, let me talk to the Almighty first, because, he's really ultimately in charge. But he even goes to the Almighty, he's like, can I do this? But the Almighty's like, no, you can't. You can't do this. You can do this, but you can't do this. And he ends up kind of just, he really pushes his limits. And that's bad behavior. We as children of the Almighty, if he gives us a word to do, he means for us to do it. And if he tells us, do not do, topic A or topic B, don't do it. It's as simple as that. And I know the hard part comes in is because deep down you really want it. Your flesh will cry out and say, man, I really want to have that, I really want to experience that, whatever. But, it was just it was such a basic idea. It was kind of random, but it was just perfectly mirrored that idea. But I think within that story, we can look at it and see how not to act. Balaam was an example of what not to do. Because, like I said, he was trying to push his limits big time. He was just trying to say, I really want this, I'm going to press you on this, God. And, his eyes were bigger than his stomach, I guess. He knew what was right, but I think that's a dangerous place, too, because you know it's right, and yet you still try to have it both ways. Let me tell you something. You really can't have it both ways. The idea of God said no, but you say, well, maybe I can not do it, but also have part of it at the same time. You're trying to satisfy both parts. The Bible talks about serving two masters. You can't serve two masters because you'll end up loving one and hating the other. They're still both your master, but you're only going to love one of them. You're going to hate the other one. I don't know if Balaam hated the Almighty. He loved. I know certainly that he loved the idea of and concept of having honor and riches and so on. But there's no. Revelation actually talks about it being a lukewarm state of being. You're lukewarm. You're not hot. You're not cold. Therefore, you basically disgust the Almighty. And actually, now that I think about it, really, there's all these themes about you can't be straddling the fence. You can't be half in, half out. You can't serve two masters. It's this idea of being a house divided. It will not stand. You can't serve Jehovah and Mammon, and you can't be humble and be rich. It just I don't think that's really stated, but it's you can't have it both ways. And I think I just realized the moral of the story really is that I hate to use this term, I really do, but this guy I used to know in ministry, he used to say this term all the time. I kind of got on my nerves, but here I am using it. You either get in, you get out, or you get run over. You're either getting in the car or you're staying out. But if you try to, be half in, half out when the car takes off, you're going to get run over. And can't believe I'm using that now. But that's just the way it is. That's life. You're either alive or you're dead, right? You're either good or you're bad. You're either in with the righteous or you're in with the unrighteous. You either follow Torah or you don't. And if you don't, then Yeshua's words to you in that day of judgment is, "Depart from me, for I never knew you, you who practice lawlessness." You can't obey the Torah and not obey the Torah at the same time. It just doesn't work that way. And unfortunately, Balaam was trying to have it both ways. And he basically got written off in history as his name was Mud. And he got told off by a donkey. Shalom. Thanks for listening.